This is Radar from the Radar Entertainment Blog coming to another edition of Movie Reviewers Observations number 137. It was Thanksgiving, so a lot of craziness this week. Was only able to get the 5 movies. First movie I watched was the latest Clint Eastwood movie at his age in his 90s of actually being the main star and not behind the scenes. Coming in at 104 minutes. It was basically 90-something minutes, but it was very slowly paced and a slow burn to like build up to the movie. Some scenes were boring. It was like them trying to make a Western because this movie took place in the past. He basically was a ranch hand, former cowboy who apparently owed money to somebody, and he was like, I need you to go down to Mexico and get my long-lost son. But he may not come quietly because the mother won't let him go, and she's part of some bad people, and he's got to deal with those bad people and everything else. And the whole point of the movie is like he's supposed to get this boy over back to, the border and stuff, and they have all these adventures and stuff like that. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't the best movie. It wasn't the worst movie. It was a solid Clint Eastwood movie to the franchise, a movie that he's in at his age. You just gotta marvel at Clint Eastwood while he's still here with us. Then, I've been waiting to watch this movie because it comes in at 2 hours and almost 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 25 minutes. And because someone like myself, who knows a lot about music, took music courses, and really loves the music history of stuff, I like watching biopics about musicians. And usually they get actors who can't sing, or they get singers who can't act. But Jennifer Hudson, despite acting slightly in her career, did a good job of sounding and looking like her. Forrest Whitaker was in the movie. They supposedly said Mary J. Blige was in the movie. And Andrea McDonald was in the movie. Marlon Wayans was good. There was a lot of good actors in this movie. But again, movies don't have to be that long, especially if a lot of people know the backstory of her career with her father and civil rights and her own career with her husband and her children, all the stuff. But again, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Now, this is when an actress or whoever is portraying the lead could win an Oscar. Not that Jessica Chastain movie about that Christian television woman. But this one, the main thing is really seeing Jennifer Hudson play that role. Because Forrest Whitaker, Marlon Wayans is comedy. The other people, yeah, we like them and stuff. But like this, it's only worth it to sit through if you're really that interested in watching this movie. Because not everyone wants to sit through almost 2.5 hours of a movie. Even if it's a lot of singing and stuff. Then I watched a cliche action movie where I could say that there was nonstop fights and gunfire. And there wasn't that many dull moments. So that's a positive. In a 90-something minute movie, that's what you want when it's an action movie. But again, the script wasn't that great. A lot of the actors in the movie, you can't blame them for being stale or no, backbone in their characters. Like, there's no development and stuff, or some of it's not believable. And Ryan Phillippe, he's been in some action movies, but in this movie, he was more of like a desk jockey agent, and it wasn't that believable based on the role he was playing. And Scott Adkins being a part of an American leading of a team, they didn't really play to his strong suits of being in martial art movies and being a total, badass type of person. Like, come on, that's what he's been in all these action movies, Scott Adkins. A little disappointed they didn't use him as they were supposed to. One of the other agents, I've seen him before. And it's just cool that there's an island that has all these bad terrorists, and that's where they, interrogate them and stuff before they figure out where they're eventually going to put them and stuff. So overall, I thought it was interesting, but as I mentioned, the writing and some of the camera angles weren't that great. But again, if you're like me and you like Scott Adkins, you're like, yeah, short 90-minute movie, I'm going to watch it, even if the woman who's the agent that was told to go get this prisoner for Scott Adkins' team to take back wasn't believable also. Overall, not a bad movie, because again, I like Ryan Phillippe and I like Scott Adkins. Then I saw See For Me because I was about to watch a movie Wednesday night, Train Issue. Thursday, came back super late because, it was Thanksgiving. Friday, I was about to watch a movie, popped it in the machine, and it says it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. When the back of the DVD says it's 90 minutes. So I'm like, no, I'm not watching that. So I just said, I'm going to watch the shortest movie I got, and it was called See For Me. It was basically, they have this app where you can call people, and they look for you when you put your camera on your phone, and it's usually for blind people trying to read a label or something. This was more extreme in that way about this blind girl who supposedly is a skier. I don't know if she was always blind or recently blind, but it didn't seem that believable. It was more flimsy. And it says on the box, Laura Vandervoot, and I'm like, that's Supergirl from Smallville. Well, she was in the movie for like a second. You know, the mother was barely in the movie. It was more really about the blind girl and the assailants in the home because she's been house sitting or cat sitting and making money that way, because supposedly there are apps that you can get people to watch your house. You get paid an initial fee, and if nothing is stolen or broken or damaged and the cat's alive or the dog's alive, then you get more money. I don't know if that's a real thing or they just made it up that rich people have money they can burn. You know, that sort of thing. And this Skylar Davenport, she was okay, but like, I'm not a blind expert. I've seen, you know, TV shows and movies with blind people, so I can't really comment. And then Jessica Parker Kennedy, we all know her as playing Barry Allen's daughter from the future, when she is, in real life, the actor is older than Barry Allen's Grant Gustin. So she was the woman who was supposedly a veteran, who's a desk jockey right now, and she's trying to help her get through this thing. So a lot of it was not believable, but in terms of like ranking like horror films, even though this doesn't really like get a sticker for horror, got a drama for thriller, I was really worried. Is this blind girl she gonna survive or not? Is she gonna work with the bad guys or whatnot? So I thought it was not bad. And again, being very short, being barely 90 minutes, it's not the end of the world to watch that. Then I watched the final Daniel Craig James Bond movie, which was, you know, COVID, his injury, and again, a movie that's 2 hours and 23 minutes with credits. I didn't see every credit scene because, you know, it's not like a Marvel movie. Now, I knew that for a while, though, Daniel Craig is now like in his 50s. He didn't really want to be James Bond anymore because it's more of a young man's game, even though Sean Connery, Timothy Dalton, Roger Moore, and even Pierce Brosnan, they played it when they're in their 30s and their 40s. And not like a lot of these guys start in their 20s, because you have to make it believable that he's been this superior agent for a while that everyone calls on to save the world, because all the code names are 00 something or their numbers. And there are people that worked for them like Q, M, Z, whatever, J, you know, Ralph Phineas, his character, Judi Dench, Ben Winshaw's character, Jeffrey Wright being the American he worked at, Christoph Waltz, if you've seen the other movie, you know, bad guy with Spectre and stuff. So they had great actors in the movie, and the real villain of this movie, Rami Malek, he did a pretty good job, but again, he was talking so quiet. I didn't know what the heck he was saying. A lot of British people talk quiet, but he wasn't playing a British person, he was playing like a European character. He was so quiet, I couldn't understand him half the time, because some of these sound mixers, when they make these movies, the action is too loud, and the dialogue's very quiet. And there were some scenes about his personal life, where he had a woman, and then it's 5 years later, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of dead scenes that I felt like, I know they're trying to set up the plot with his girlfriend and the bad guy, yada, yada, yada. But you can still cut out those like 20 extra minutes that it says it's 2 hours and 23 minutes. And it could just be like a regular, you know, 2 hour movie at most. And I'm not spoiling anything, but it's been out for a while. But this is the first time my dad because he's seen all the original ones. I don't think I've seen every single one. I've seen most of them. That this is how a James Bond character or franchise ends. I'm not saying how it ends, but it was a dramatic ending of what Daniel Craig's portrayal is going to be. I don't remember anything happening with the previous James Bond's final movies, nothing like that. So, what I'm getting at is that that's where, like, it was that surprising. That was the ending. There's a typical nice car, action scenes, survival scenes, the bad guys, the good guys working with you. You know, you're not sure who's good or bad nowadays. But one thing that wasn't believable was, okay, so they replaced some of these people that work for MI6, you know, with the letter. And they're younger, so they're recruiting more people no matter what race or religion they are. Cool. But supposedly, if he's not James Bond and they gave someone else, you know, he's not 007, they gave him his code name away to someone else, this androgynous, masculine-presenting woman, this short-haired black lady, didn't seem that believable with her fighting skills or her gun skills that she is the new 007. I know that's just a code name. It's not the actual, like, prestige of how good you are as an agent. But it wasn't that believable in that role. And I'm trying to explain to my dad is they're trying to go young. Because a lot of the older cast members, you know, like in real life, they move on from the agency or they die, whatever. So they got to replace them. And that's why, like, you know, a lot of these people in the movie have been different throughout the franchises, different ones, because, you know, they move on and stuff. But she wasn't believable. And it's not about race. It's not about gender. It's just her acting and her, you know, demeanor and posture in the movie. And a lot of this stuff, just that wasn't believable. But overall, it's a great fitting way to end the James Bond franchise for this specific Daniel Craig role. I don't know what's going to happen going forward, if they're going to make any new movies, but as people need to do every 10, 20 years, keep remaking the same stuff, because you got the longtime books franchise and now the longtime movie franchise and video game that you're going to continue to tell the story. I just don't know who's going to be it. But it was a nice, fun ride to watch Daniel Craig as James Bond. And even though I don't get along with my father that well, nice to bond on a franchise like James Bond franchise, because he grew up with it and I grew up with it. So yeah, it was definitely No Time to Die. And that was definitely the best movie I watched this week. Respect was a good biopic, but again, these movies don't have to be 2+ hours long. And the action movie, I said, it wasn't the greatest well written. This thriller film was not super believable, but it was still kept your attention. And then Cry Macho was not the worst, world's greatest, or world's best Clint Eastwood movie. Just another fine addition to the collection of Clint Eastwood movies. Thank you for listening to another edition of Movie Review Observation number 137. For On The Radar Today blog, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.